And as president of the foundation, it's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of my board to our Imagine Clackamas Visioning Summit. And more importantly, to thank you for being here today. And I mean that very sincerely. We asked each of you to give us an entire day of your best thinking, your energy, and your vision for the future of Clackamas. And you said yes. And we appreciate this significant demonstration of your commitment to Clackamas, and it means a lot to us. In this room here gathered, as you look around, I hope you've noticed that we have a tremendous collection here of institutional leadership, wisdom, and history. And while the specific relationship with the college varies greatly from person to person, the common bond we share is a deep dedication to this college and its work in our community. And since our retreat 1 year ago, 104 of our closest friends, each with a unique connection to the college and foundation, met with one of our gifted student interviewers to have a deliberate conversation focused on revealing what is right about the college and foundation. And this very different sort of visioning process required us to first slow down and listen so that today we could be armed with that strong sense of what made Clackamas great and start setting a new course, a bold, radical course firmly rooted in our own culture and history, using the best of what has been to create the vision for the best that we can be. And it's this vision which is going to drive our next big foundation campaign. So today we're going to be zeroing in on developing our collective vision to launch this next big, bold friend and fundraising campaign. We're fortunate enough to have President Truesdell's strong leadership at the college's helm and her consistent involvement with our foundation board. The college and foundation, of course, have long enjoyed this strong connection with each other. It was a relationship modeled for many years by President Kaiser and David Dixon and their respective boards, and that important connection has continued thanks to Joanne's leadership and our current fantastic Board of Education. The Foundation's mission to raise friends and funds for Clackamas Community College has always meant working in tandem with the college, not ahead, not behind, but side by side, complementing, enhancing, bolstering, supporting. And it's that strong connection that the Foundation has with the college that allows us to come alongside with philanthropic dollars, providing student access and enhancing the college's ability to deliver on its mission. So that's why we invited each and every one of you here today. We are all connected in this work for Clackamas, past and present, and we need each other as we look to the future and imagine Clackamas.
So I want to be honest and transparent, because the idea for the Imagine Clackamas movement came from this wonderful woman who's joined us, actually from Florida today, but originally from Chicago, because I was so inspired by this community organizing model called Imagine Chicago. And so I had brought this concept to our wonderful foundation board, who gave me their support and blessing and full endorsement to bring this model to you, our 104 best friends of Clackamas Community College, to achieve something great. And one of the seeds, David and I were talking about this just a few moments ago, that I learned from Ms. Brown was the transformative power in having students involved. And you'll hear a little bit more about her life stories and in the workshop. But so I came to our students, who actually there were, I think we started with a dozen and then we got down to about 10, who helped us fully enrich this experience. And for them it was as transformative as it was for you. And so I just really want to thank all of those, even those who weren't here today. And the ultimate objective was, of course, to help the foundation shape a new strategic direction for a vision to help us raise friends and funds. But there's something else. We also wanted to discover some small but transformative changes along the way, because even though we're doing great work built on the legacy of many wonderful people, David, John Kaiser, in this room today, we knew we could do even better to strengthen the vitality of who we are. And so you shared your wonderful energy with us. And I broke it down into 2 columns because whenever I participate in an initiative like this, I like to know, so how's that information going to be used? I think that's really important for you to understand. So I broke it down into 2 columns, and one is leadership. Every one of you in this room today is a Clackamas Community College leader, and today you're providing that leadership and you're going to translate it into action. And so from today's visioning planning, we will use this to build our campaign framework. We will use it to identify campaign champions, cultivate new friends, and of course the ultimate is to raise precious resources for our students, our programs, and our services. But what I have really enjoyed about this wonderful experience is this other column I call management, right? So this is the day-to-day stuff that we've learned how we can do even better and more stronger work. So I'd like to take a moment here, and any of those who participated, feel free to pipe in, but improve our operational practices, foundation board development. Frank, there's evidence of the interviews at work. Thank you for joining us. To strengthen our relationships with current CCC friends. I don't think there was an interview, even though we've broke them down thematically, that didn't reinforce the power of relationships and how much our caring about each other translates into caring about our students. And we heard that we needed to communicate more often and more strategically. You know, sometimes we're kind of humble and quiet about what we do. And you said, don't be. Don't be. We need to talk about the great work we're doing, and we need to do it wherever we have an opportunity. And then we're also, this is sort of a bittersweet note. You provided us with a lot of feedback and strategic direction to help us hire a new foundation executive director. Karen Martini, sadly, is going to be retiring at the end of this year. You know our friends are lifelong, though, right, Karen?
Yes, I do.
Yes, okay, exactly. So she doesn't get to go anywhere, but she gets to have a new seat. But we are going to use your feedback because it's critical that not only do we hire someone with the right skill sets and the talent and the experience, they need to fit within the values that are surrounding us in this room today. Someone that you would be honored to have stand beside you. So the next step is I just wanted to give you a little summary of what you suggested and how only in just a few months' time since these interviews have begun, we've put this into action. So you said do a better job getting the word out on the foundation's successes. So it's more than just pushing press releases. I mean, as anybody knows, trying to get something into the media, you need to really weave it into a story. So we've had stories in the Business Journal, Clackamas Review, and the Clackamas Print. And much to Karen's, I think, I told her I'm going to bring her front page cover. I even brought a story for those of you who would like to read with the Clackamas Print. This is a beautiful story on the collective hard work that we all are doing under the leadership of Karen Martini. And then, of course, we've got some great press on our largest gift ever from the Inskeet family that you'll hear more about today. And then word of mouth. One of the things that we're really challenging, and the board is really rising to the occasion, is each of you in this room today, I'm going to ask you to be a part of telling our story. You're all storytellers. We can certainly work with our new social media coordinator, Simon Tam, but we need all of you to participate. And then you also wanted to make sure that CCC staff was well engaged and informed. So President Truesdale allowed us to have an Imagine Clackamas moment at our last state of the college, and we had about 45, how many, Simon? 45? It
was actually about 60.
Oh, excuse me, thank you, Simon. About 60 CCC staff stopped by and participate in the Imagine Clackamas storytelling and interview session. So I wanted to pause here too, because these quilts that you see around the room, each of these quilt squares represents an interview with one of you. Did anyone here find themselves? Could you raise your hand? Did anybody find yourself? You. All right.
30 times all over.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is exactly. Thank you, David. That is the right answer. And that's why instead of handing you, a white paper, our students and your foundation team took the time to take the essence of each of your interviews and lovingly and tenderly build it into a quilt square. Okay, so now I'd like to have the students come forward, and we're going to share a few stories with you. Now please note that these stories don't have a name, just like the quilts. But you may hear yourself in these stories. We hope you do.
It all came back to me as I drove down that familiar curved driveway onto the campus today. Being there brought back so many memories. I still remember the terror I felt at the thought of returning to school. You would think I would be thrilled to finally get my chance at an education, since this is an opportunity that had escaped me after the recession of the 80s. I still remember losing the house. I knew that going back to school would not be an option for me, at least not soon. After being part of the workforce for so long, why was I so terrified when my supervisor suggested I take real estate classes? The panic attack I had when I registered certainly made me realize how scared I was. But why? The teachers were so committed. I remember how often they came in early or stayed late to help me. They will never know how much their time and patience meant to me. I still have to fight back the tears when I think about that. To be in a class and ask questions without feeling stupid was freeing and certainly helped my confidence. The teachers truly touched me. Life was so busy back then. School, work, and kids. There's just never enough time. Being on campus again made me realize how far I have come. I never thought it would take 21 years to get my bachelor's, but it doesn't matter. The supportive relationships with the teachers improved my confidence and led me to the successful career I enjoy today.
Making the world a better place is my goal, and I believe education ensures a better future for individuals and society. I want to continue to grow and stimulate growth in others. I feel a responsibility to give back for all I've received. My parents instilled this value in me by example. I remember them attending CCC after they immigrated from Vietnam. They knew very little English and had no money when they arrived. It was a struggle to master the language while going to school. My parents showed me that life is full of bumps, and you just work through them. I was so proud when they earned their associate's degrees. Their success ignited their determination that my brother and I complete 4 years of formal education. When my high school counselor suggested I become involved with the student government at CCC, I thought it was a sensible idea since my parents had attended and it was close to home. I remember how surprised I was by the strong sense of community and the excellent instructors. It was a perfect place for me to transition from high school to college. I accomplished so much during my 2 years at CCC. I feel it was an honor to be part of the college, and I want everyone to have a chance at the same opportunity I had. Applying and receiving a scholarship to attend Portland State University was a wonderful opportunity and the fulfillment of one of my parents' dreams for me. My success honors my parents for their hard work and the energy they invested in my brother and me. I wouldn't be where I am today without CCC and my parents.
I served in the United States Army during World War II and received a bronze medal for rescuing my troops who were pinned down by Japanese fire in the Philippines. In reflection, I credit that experience for who I am today. The GI Bill provided me with the opportunity to go to college and fulfill my dream of being an educator. And the leadership skills I gained in the military gave me the stamina I needed to campaign so tenaciously for the college in the early days. Between the years of 1966 and 1977, 35 money issues were submitted to the taxpayers. And let me tell you, seeking voter approval was no easy deal. To help educate the voters on the economic value of the college, we paid staff and faculty in silver dollars and had them redistribute their wealth throughout the community. I remember going to the grocery store and seeing stacks of silver dollars on the countertops. To get their attention while I was purchasing a bag of groceries, I accidentally tipped over the piles, sending the coins crashing to the floor, much to the dismay and joy of the folks around me. It may have looked like an accident, but I did it on purpose to ensure they heard the sound of money and the value we CCC employees brought to the community we lived and worked in. You know, I've always been a believer in the community college system. The 60s were a time of tremendous change for education. I came to Clackamas to be a part of leading that change. I wanted to be a pioneer in something that addressed a feeling from the community and fulfilled a need that was really desired. I wanted everyone, not just the privileged few, to have access to a college education and a good career. I wanted to ensure other folks like me, lumberjacks, roofers, road builders, and soldiers, could have a place to make their lives better too. This is a dream long shared with my bride of 66 years. Together we knew we could make a difference in the lives of others through post-secondary education. To us, Clackamas Community College was a calling, and our mission was and still is education and training. I remember the first class we held at CCC. It was comprised of about 8 young ladies, and one of them came up to me just before class and shared her concerns about completing the course. She was afraid of failing. Well, I told her, you get back in that class, sit down, and study hard, because I know you can do it. You know what happened next? At graduation, she came up to me and gave me a big hug and a kiss and said, "You said I could do it, and I did it." As you've heard this morning, this story has replayed itself now for more than 40 years. This narrative is amplified by the leadership of Clackamas Community College's current president, a president that exemplifies the legacy of this dream. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming President Joanne Truesdell, CCC alumni, class of 1982.
Thanks for spending time with the college and foundation today. While I began, I was optimistic that we would be inspired and motivated, but I already have been, and I think you have too. For sure, we'll reaffirm our cultural pride as Cougars, as Clackamas Community College. We'll affirm our strengths, past and present, and we'll also create that shared image for a preferred future as we look forward to the Friends and fundraising campaign for the future. It is very much seeming like yesterday, as I see John, President Emeritus, who came to the college. He served between 1985 and 2001. And John's story began with really a quest to collaboratively establish a mission and a set of values that we still call today visions to reality. And our ability as a college to be resilient in these times, these tough times, has been because of that foundation under John's leadership. And we continue to be defined as we've always been, as Dr. John Hawkinson was, through idealism and commitment. We are nearing a mid-century mark, but we still take the utmost pride in who we are and also in the hope and the commitment we have to our community. When I started working at the college about 5 years ago, we marked Clackamas' 40th anniversary. And so now we're looking ahead to the 50th, and I even think ahead to the 100th. And my hope and desire, along with you, is to ensure that the college still provides that hope, opportunity, and commitment to our community and to our students. And so this summit really provides you, us, collectively, an opportunity to share in forming that future. But I want to talk just a little bit about that, why are we here anyway as a college? And what's really telling, and John Hawkinson's story creates it, is we were formed really as a movement out of 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and a massive shift from an agrarian society, an agrarian-based economy, to an industrial-based economy. And those were huge shifts, not unlike today. And as a result, President Truman decided to form a commission on higher education and democracy, because he knew the two went together. And it was designed to actually address some of the most pressing issues of the time: unemployment, high unemployment, the underserved, underrepresented being left out, all about equal opportunity. And third, veterans, a number of veterans returning with no education, no job, and a seemingly feel of no future. And the work that commission did was to alter fundamentally post-secondary education, because what they found in all of their studies is that universities alone couldn't fulfill what was needed to serve the unemployed, underrepresented, and veterans. And so when community colleges began, and certainly here in this state, many of the individuals saw themselves as part of a movement, very much like the civil rights movement, the women's movement. We thought of ourselves as a movement, and we had this missionary zeal for that movement, for bringing education into our communities, post-secondary education. And in those early years is the environment. And through Shelley's words, you can hear Dr. John talking about pride and teamwork and commitment to that shared mission, that zeal, going out and tipping over the coins in the grocery store. And it is hard to believe that in just 1 year, the college had to go out 5 times for an operating levy. And that really, all that interaction in the community really connected us as a college and as staff to the community. It's very difficult to not go out and talk to people about why the college is important and not feel a real sense of connection to them. And it really is their achievements in these different foundational aspects that we as a college benefit from today. And that solid ground laid during Dr. John Hawkins's time was built upon and formed into collaboration, relationships, community building by Dr. John Kaiser. And so the past 10 years, this is all important because the past 10 years has been really trying for the college and for education. We have seen our state support plummet by 50% while enrollment has skyrocketed, in fact about 40%. We have restructured the college to meet both the budgetary issues that we've been facing, but also to position ourselves for the future. And through all the change, losing positions, doing more with less, each of you have remained steadfast to your commitment to the college mission and to our students. And how this has demonstrated all of these great framework and all of this great energy was in 2009 when the college really hit the first of a very steep decline in state support. All the staff voluntarily agreed to forego their cost of living increase to help balance the budget. Now, it wasn't enough. It was actually a drop in the bucket compared to what else we had to do. But they just said, why not? This seems to make sense to us. And 2.5 years later, as the Inskeep family considered giving Clackamas Foundation a $1.8 million gift, the largest in the college's history, they remembered that act, the selfless act, by our staff. And it's all because, again, of you, of the hard work that people are willing to invest in Clackamas Community College. So, $1.8 million in a new gift this year. But there are other things that are happening. 4 new Heritage Society members signed up this year. Also this year, we received $200,000 in endowment support from Heritage Society members. 8 brand new endowments were created this year, and the annual giving activities remain very strong. Notable, consistently, year after year after year, staff participate at an 80% or higher level. It's unheard of in any other kind of community-based organization where staff provide that level of commitment. And so, We have all of these things, and they place us at this really unique and pivotal juncture. And it is thanks to all of you, again, because we do have the ability to be resilient and face with grace. Because the other parts that we sometimes forget about is how incredibly bright our future is because of all of this. If we can do this during the hard times, we can really do a great number of cool things in the future. We can set this aside and move forward. And we have a bright opportunity, and today we have a bright opportunity to ensure that Clackamas looks as our community needs at our 50-year anniversary and also into the future. And so we know it is still a pivotal role that Clackamas Community College plays. As Shelley was saying, and as the stories demonstrate, past, present, and future students always can find a story at Clackamas Community College. And it was nearly 32 years ago when an employer saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He declared that I was college material and informed me that I couldn't even come back to work until I was in school. So I really believed he wouldn't let me return, and I hesitantly headed for Clackamas Community College. At that time, Belozier's Egg Farm was there, Berry Fields. It was a beautiful campus, and still is. I sat in the parking lot 40 minutes trying to figure out how not to be here. And I can say that there was money, time, culture, and certainly a fear of losing my identity that tugged at me. Who was I? Who would I become? It's interesting because in retrospect, as I put a lens on it now, it was really that I lacked confidence in whatever the term college material meant. I was afraid of failing, and I was convinced I didn't belong. Resolutely, and because I wanted my job, I got out of the car and into the halls of Clackamas Community College. And like so many before me, I was welcomed by friendly faces that cared about students, and that people, faculty and staff, really clearly cared about my education and my ability to have an education, to be educated. I not only stayed in college, but I looked forward to the day of giving back to Clackamas. And so that is my best life memory of Clackamas Community College. Again, my story is the story of many people who have been, who are here now, and who will come in the future. It is the story that is rooted in the past and is born from people who imagined the importance of education in our nation. Those people who are missionary zealots in education. Those people who thought of themselves as the movement. Those people who are sitting here in the room. But it's today our nation's president that calls us to action as community colleges. We've been charged with ensuring we have not only the best educated citizenry, but the most competitive workforce in the world by the end of this decade. And our charge while we're doing this is to ensure not only access, but increase our completion rates, manage costs, keep college affordable, and my favorite, America competitive. That's what we're designed to do. 1948, that's what we were designed to do. 2012, that's what we're being asked to do. Something we do very well. Oregon's governor and legislature has made a similar request of us, but with measurable outcomes, and we get 5 years extra. By 2025, we're to have helped educate 40% of all Oregonians having a 2-year degree, at least a 2-year degree. 40% of all Oregonians. And we can imagine it, and if we can imagine it, we can actually do it.
And next, I'd like to formally introduce the woman who has turned me on and tuned me into this beautiful movement called Imagine, and to the whole concept of the imagination, using it for social change. So just a few quick things I think it would be nice for you to know before I turn the day over to her. So Blitz Brown is the founder and president of Imagine Chicago, and I'll tell you a little bit about what they do in a moment. But she's also the mother of 3. She's an Episcopal priest and the former head of the First National Bank of Chicago. Who is this woman? All these things at the same time. And so when I was looking, who is this woman? She's amazing. And so when I actually went and looked at her formal bio, I thought, well, I wonder, the ministry piece must have come later in life. But no, she's always sort of had these 2 very interesting hats. She has 2 graduate degrees, one in theology from Harvard, and the other in management from... Yes. So she has the mind of a businesswoman and the heart of a social servant, and we're just so lucky to have her here. So I would like to read a little something about Imagine Chicago, because she kept reminding me when I asked her if she would tell her story that today is all about Clackamas Community College, not about her. But I'm going to break the rule and just give you a snippet of what so caught my imagination. Imagine Chicago is a nonprofit organization created in 1992 and dedicated to cultivating hope and civic commitment. It enlists young peoples and others who want to make a difference to bring to light the experience, hopes, and aspirations of Chicago's citizens. And I think, what are there, about 3 million of those? Bliss? Yes, about that. And the city as a whole. This work is done in partnership with local organizations, schools, churches, community groups, cultural institutions, and serves as the catalyst to encourage people to think about themselves as creators of the city's future and to form communities in which that future can be created and the ownership of that future is shared. And I thought that's what we want to have happen today. And I really want to thank the Foundation Board for opening up, which is normally their annual retreat planning day, to all of their friends so that you can share in helping us imagine Clackamas and making our vision become a reality. So Bliss, come lead us through it.
There, as any of you know who do community work, there are communities and there are communities, and the ones you want to work with are the ones where you give them this much of a seed of an idea and they grow an enormous orchard out of it, because the imagination and creativity and capacity of every community is so enormous. And boy, I didn't know a thing about Clackamas Community College, and I have just been bowled over by not only, I mean, working with someone like Shelley makes anyone look great, because I mean, she's just so, such a talent. And you know, we'd have these conversations and I would come away thinking, I'm not very clear, but boy, whatever she got, she's going to run with, you know, and so that's really been a pleasure. But also just to see a process unfold in such a happy and organic and high impact and inspiring way. You know, so I was sitting in the room this morning feeling like it's just such a privilege to be here. It's such a privilege to hear these stories. It's such a privilege as an American to know that there are foundations this sound doing the real work. I mean, really, I'm just so moved by what you're doing. And I have to say, in just a little nugget about Imagine Chicago, that Imagine Chicago arose really out of a vision that just kind of got my soul's attention and I couldn't wriggle out of, which was, you know, that someone asked a really big, bold question, which was, you know, of a group larger than this, what did we think God's dreams were for Chicago as a whole? And so I started asking myself, because I was a banker and a priest, the question of, you know, what is God's economy? And I realized there are not too many people that just big about that, but I did, and in that moment, an image came to me, and I say this because a lot today is about really expanding and cultivating imagination, and this image changed my life, and it was that recycling symbol, and I could see it just with a kind of banner headline, a kind of calling that said to me, my weird imagination, in God's economy, nothing and no one is wasted. Or to say it differently, everyone and everything counts. And, when I've been reading these stories about Clackamas Community College and thinking, oh, wow, isn't this just the heart of everything? If we want a vigorous, rich democracy in this country, you cannot have it unless everyone sees democratic participation as something they're confident and competent to do. And that doesn't happen unless, in some ways, the least among us, the ones who might otherwise be at the margin, develop exactly the confidence to get out of the car and walk in the door, and are then met by a context in which people say, boy, are we glad to have you here, because I see in you the very treasure, even shining brighter than you can see it in yourself at this moment, and I know I won't be proven wrong. So, the fact that you somehow in this place brought together such a powerful commitment to making access not to any old education, but to high quality, practical education which enables people to lead productive, meaningful lives. I am so excited to be here. Truly, it's just really thrilling. So now it's your turn for the afternoon, and thank you for having me. What we're doing this afternoon is in 3 big movements, to steal the word of the community college movement that we're all a part of. And movements because they're going to begin somewhere with some questions on a structure, and then in this creative concoction which human interaction is, you will tend to feed on each other's ideas and creativity and panic, and produce something out of it which couldn't have happened but by virtue of the people in whose company you were sitting, and bringing your own attention and imagination and, frankly, love of this place to this effort.
Yeah, just telling the stories to get people involved, to give in whatever way they can, money or resources or networking.
Okay, what else? Thinking towards what can we do by 2016? I think I was most inspired by the way this process gets people motivated. And because we were able to interview such a beautiful cross-section of our community, and we were able to reach back to people who have historically been significant at the college, connect with people who maybe newly are significant at the college, and tap into what motivates them to be a part of this organization, find the commonality. That's what's exciting, because we're at a key point in history for the college. The college is over 40 years old. We're nearing our 50th anniversary. There were a lot of years, a lot of decades there where our own history could just sort of be remembered. We had folks who for a lot of years were here. They'd been here from the beginning, and we didn't need to sort of bridge our future with our past because we were so new. But we're now at a point where we have a lot of rich history. We have a lot of exciting programs, new people involved. And what I loved about the Imagine Clackamas process was that we took the best of what has been, grabbed folks who are currently working to help us imagine what is it we can be. And it's all about taking our history and saying, now we're ready to stand on the shoulders of this amazing organization that has been doing great work. What's next?
Well, and why not partnering with these universities that Clackamas has got partnerships with, PSU and Merrill-Hearst. Merrill-Hearst has a math program that if I had went and and took my math classes there would have saved me a lot of heartache at Clackamas. So why not go, okay, you know what? You go to Merrillhurst for this class because we will accept it here because of the way they teach it. I'm getting an A in math for the first time in my life. I'm getting an A in math just because of the way they teach that class and the instructors they have there. So if that's what it takes to get that person through math, then that's what they do. And then come back and finish your higher level.
So the process actually started, I think, the summer of 2011 when we started working on the interview questions, because the interview questions are the heart of appreciative inquiry. They're the research. They replace the data sets. So to give you an idea, in a typical reflective process, you focus on a SWOT analysis, your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, and you look at what's broken. You dissect it into different pieces and you look at what you should or could be doing better. Well, what the interview process does in a very relational manner, it helps each individual reflect on the best of what the institution is doing. But I will be honest, it also allows for opportunities to make transformative, small, but very important changes along the way, because the foundation board was actually taking the information from the interviews and making very significant changes operationally before we ever got to the summit. So that by the time we got to the summit, we could actually use the summit as an opportunity to focus on the shared vision, a vision which met all of the values that we unearthed during the interview process and set very strategic drivers, or goals, if you will, that the group wanted to see in the campaign. I think the biggest surprise for me is how you can take 104 very different people who have been connected with Clackamas Community College in very different points and times, very different roles, some of them having held numerous roles, and yet when you put all of their dreams and aspirations and what they most care about, what they see of most value around Clackamas Community College was how much we had in common. And to me that was really powerful. It was really powerful because I think a lot of people worried that by conducting individual interviews that allowed for such in-depth personal introspection that we would have all these very disparate ideas, and by the time we got to the summit, people would be in very different directions, and it would be hard to bring us back to a place of unity and commonality, but that didn't happen. If anything, these 100+ interviews actually brought us together, so that by the time we got to the summit, we already had a remembrance of why we love this college so much.
We wanted every student connected to someone at Clackamas Community College. We want to continue our veteran success. We want to cultivate Clackamas Community College as a center of hope. And we want to make education affordable, degrees to all transfer students. Once they leave here, wherever they go, we wish to get, we want them to have and get that 4-year degree. We want wider advertising of our courses. We don't think that a lot of folks know what we do here. And we wanted, as we say, outreach and marketing. Hence, the tree of hope.
One of the things that we recognized that there was a big motivation to work towards was the removal of barriers towards students. So here's a barrier leaf, and then we've got all the little different kinds of barriers that oftentimes we don't consider, such as self-confidence, lack of a career goal, remedial needs, child care support groups, everything from I'm having trouble with math to I'm having trouble speaking in speech class kind of support groups. Then we have
one of the best parts of my job is teaching a class called Life and Career Options Planning. And it's been running nearly 30 years at this college, and it started out helping dislocated homemakers transition back to the workforce, and now it helps a broader population. Over the years, the foundation has gathered donations for that program, and so the foundation helps students in need. I can help them apply for a small amount of support. For instance, I recently purchased some of the basic materials a person needed to launch their own business, after they graduated our class. Also, last term, a student who was a lawyer in Sudan, she came to this country and was kind of really working entry-level jobs, and the foundation gave some money so that she could have her transcripts officially reviewed and applied towards United States educational standards. So now she's recognized as having a bachelor's degree. So when she pursues her education, she can go up towards her master's and maybe become a lawyer once again with a lot less education. Another thing the foundation did not that long ago was help a graduate of LCOP get the clothes that she needed to become a CNA. She was graduating that program and she needed the right kind of outfit to be able to go to work. So there's lots of ways in that context the foundation helps. Another aspect of how I get to engage with the foundation is with mini grants. I've written 3 or 4 of them over the years. 2 years ago we wrote one combining our manufacturing, automotive, and renewable energy programs, and we're taking a golf cart and adding a generator on the back, converting it to run on hydrogen, where it will repower the electric battery. So it's kind of a different model for how we might power a vehicle. So we're currently working on that project, and we've just heard that we've been awarded a mini grant to help manufacturing and welding instructors make small instructional videos using and paying digital multimedia communication students for those efforts. So the foundation funds will be used to pay the students to help our instructors make videos to support their curriculum. As the person who gets to submit the particular requests for individual students, I get to see it firsthand. And it was really neat for me at the summit to see some of the people that have participated that in a more broad and general sense of helping secure funding and even providing perhaps their own donations, trusting that is going to go have an impact on students. And so it's a position of great humility to be the person who is able to then take a student in need and say, I have something that I can help you, that I can use to help you. And the people that are at that summit are not in dire need personally. Nobody in that room, I believe, is struggling to pay the rent or challenged by dire economic circumstances, and yet all of them are choosing to invest their time to help others. There's no requirement for that. They might not get recognized very much for that, but that's what they're choosing to do, and it's a great privilege to take that commitment to our community and help define that individually, one student at a time.